Thank you. This is Rebecca Suggs, Vice Chairperson, and I am opening the meeting, the Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority's Citizen Oversight Committee in the absence of our chairperson, Lucy. And Lori, will you call the roll?
Thank you. Kingston Cole?
Here.
Larry Chu?
Here.
Larry
Minicus, I am
Minicus?
present. Yes. Here.
Max Perry? Oh,
Here.
Perry. It's Perry.
Hooray. Here.
Perry. Okay. Rebecca Scruggs?
No CR in there, just Suggs.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
No problem. And I'm here.
Suggs, right?
Yep, that's it. And I'm here.
Michael Wera? He's absent. Jennifer Howard? Here. Pat Randall?
Here.
And for the record, Lucy Dilworth, the chair, is absent. Thank you.
And we have a quorum, we're good?
We have a quorum, yes.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any adjustments to the agenda? Okay. Moving to item 4 on the agenda, open time for public expression. And Lori and Mark, keep me honest on how I'm doing on agenda.
Very good. Is there anyone at this time in the public that would like to speak on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mark, the executive officer's report.
Good morning, everybody. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Good evening, everybody.
Update real quick.
It's been a long day. I'm
Right.
up in Ione at Cal Fire's Academy teaching operations section chief class. So stepped away from the class isn't going anymore for today. We're done. One of the things I've been talking about almost every meeting is weather, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but the weather has such a tremendous impact on what our wildfire season is going to be like. And you really have to look at weather in two different ways. You have, and this is going to sound funny, short-term weather, and I consider short-term weather on an annual basis. And then you have the long-term trends, and we have our long-term trends that's been going on almost for a decade now, that is resulting in a drought that they are doing research, and there hasn't been a drought like this in 1,200 years. And so that's when I get calls from the media about how this winter is remarkably dry starting January to now, and asking what is the MWPA doing differently because of this. My answer is we're continuing down the path that we have been continuing, because based on the really long-term weather that we've been having, and then the long-term of fuel being accumulating due to suppression of wildfire, the long-term of continuing to push people into further and further into the wildland, we're already at a max sense of urgency. And there really is no way for us to increase our maximum sense of urgency that we're in right now. I know we got a little bit of precipitation recently. When I looked at the prediction for February through May recently, they were calling for a dry rest of February, and hoping to get back into, or predicting getting back into, a wet weather pattern in March, and predicting slightly below normal average temperatures and slightly below normal rainfall, but at least some rainfall for March through May. So I really hope that pans out. I really appreciated it, as you guys saw when I sent the email out, the Vanata report that was published. Very simple to digest. I love the message. I really like how the message was framed. And I really appreciate the people who sent that message. I think they have a lot of credibility and validity throughout the political world and the scientific world as well as the firefighting world. It will be posted up on the news section of our webpage soon, so people have a lot of access to it. As I mentioned, I am at CAL FIRE teaching the operations section chief class. So the people who attend this class are really, they're not rookies. They're veteran firefighters who are looking to take that next command level. And it's the people who have been going to these fires for the last few years. And they're asking questions like, how do we take wildfire suppression into the next phase? Just know, I mean, to the meaning that they know from what they've been experiencing that the wildfire problem has not plateaued. It's going to continue to get worse based on what they've been seeing year in and year out. It's not the new norm because we haven't normalized yet. It's still climbing. And it's an interesting question that it's really hard from the suppression side to answer. The complexity of our incidents is a logarithmic curve where our capability has been a slight increase, flatline. And my challenge to the students was, you guys need to help bridge that gap between capability and complexity. And the fact of the matter is, every time a fire starts, suppression wise, we are already behind in the race for that fire, unless that fire happens to start at a place that we've already done some pre-fire work through our vegetation management processes. And so it really validates the only way we're going to bridge that gap between complexity and capability is doing much of the work before a fire ever starts. So that is the only way that we're going to get ahead of it. So again, it just validates what the Venata report was saying. And then I wish Michael was here today, because I've already received requests from our board members to have Michael present as an educational item to the board,
Sure.
how that conversation went in that retreat that they had, and give us a little bit of the insight and some of the knowledge that he has. So I definitely will be asking him for that. Something I'm very excited about is the Adapt to Wildfire campaign. We've been spending it's been close to 4 to 6 months that we've been preparing this campaign, and to see it start to roll out now is pretty exciting. Just the very beginning of it, and we're going to start small, and each component of that Adapt to Wildfire campaign is going to build upon itself. I hope that when I would imagine all of you have the opportunity to read the IJ online. So I hope that in some of the pages that you pulled up, that you got to see some of the Adapt to Wildfire campaign ads come up. We're supposed to have 50,000 appearances of that ad online for the rest of this month. And it's going to link to the specific page in Fire Safe Marin that talks about that, but it's all branded as MWPA. And then our social media will echo what is going on with the Adapt to Wildfire campaign to, again, push people through into that mechanism. One of the pieces about the Adapt to Wildfire campaign, though, is not only a digital campaign. It's in print. It will be in, eventually we'll have it on the sides of Golden Gate transit buses. We may be able to use some of the banner space that's over some of the roadways in Marin, because we really need to use all of our modes of communicating to get, because as Bill Tyler put it, we're doing a great job of communicating to the choir. We need to expand the choir. And as I know you all know, it's work plan development time. There's a lot of planning and work that's going in behind it, determining our projected revenue, so then we can break that out into core, DSpace, and local mitigation, and start identifying where the budget thresholds are, how many of the projects will likely be total JPA wide projects versus how much amounts that we're targeting for each of the 5 core areas. So we're working through that. The work plan portal went through quite a few revisions, and people are in there plugging away, entering their data. So we're looking forward to being able to get those projects developed in there and get them to the point where we can turn on the switch to make them publicly available for people to see them as we are developing. And with that, I'll take questions.
Mark, I had one. Do you know how that report is going to be distributed or published or advertised?
I actually don't. I haven't, I received it yesterday. And I've been busy teaching, so I haven't had a chance to really dig into some of the meats and and how they plan to distribute that. We have Larry Chu with his hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. You know, the MWPA is on the left side of an incident, and, you know, you were talking about operations section and all that, which right side of the incident. Have fire agencies locally started thinking about wildfires just not being seasonal anymore?
Absolutely. It's such a hard habit to break to say fire season, but in reality, we have accepted that there is no such thing as fire season, and it is just preparedness levels. And so we are in winter preparedness. As I mentioned to the IJ in a recent interview, when I started my career, we pulled all the wildland fire equipment off our engines during the winter, simply because we did not go to wildland fires, and if we did, they were small enough. Now those engines, all of our engines are carrying their wildfire equipment year round. The firefighters have their wildland personal protection equipment available to them year round, because it's different than the structured fire personal protective equipment. And we can, minus aircraft, we can mount a fire response now in the same way that we can during the summer. We have dispatch levels, and based on the weather and the fuel conditions, it'll change how many engines that we send to an incident. But minus, like I said, the aircraft, we can send what's considered a medium response right now, which is the 90% of the time in the summer, we're sending a medium response. So I think we're in a good position to be able to respond year round now.
Okay, thank you.
The context that we need to change is in the public to be thinking about wildfire preparedness year round. Now is the perfect time to prepare.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Any other questions for Mark? I do have
Thank you
one.
for sending. Oh, I was just going to thank Mark for sending that report to us. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. Okay to say thank you. It's good. Mark, we had brought up, I think Lucy brought it up with Bill Tyler about the COC being able to use the work plan portal to review plans earlier than the way we had been doing it the last year. The public has access to the portal. Are they going to have it? Does the public have it early so that we would just go in as the public does, or can we get earlier access? And if so, who should we bring that up with?
We have researched this quite a bit, and due to the Brown Act, and the Brown Act is meant to create transparency, and unfortunately, some of the pieces of the Brown Act are not supporting that transparency in the way that we want it to. We can't even have our ad hoc non-voting members of the advisory technical committee have access to the work plan portal. So therefore we won't be able to have COC members have that early access. And so that's the downside. The upside is that we're going to turn the switch on to make those developing work plans public earlier. So that's our solution to it.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Mark, would it be possible to make the portal public, just public, with only, with limited access, but public, so that it solves this issue?
There's components that we need to have, the refinements in the projects that need to happen before they get turned to the public. Mm-hmm. But we are going to be turning to non-public sooner.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And do we ask for public questions in this section?
Yes, always, yeah.
So, Lori, you gotta check for.
I'm sorry. At this time, anyone in the public, would you like to speak on the executive report? Please raise your hand. Seeing none. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Anything else from the COC on Mark's report? Okay. Consent calendar. We have the minutes from last month on the consent calendar. Yes.
I just
Sorry,
want to
Audrey.
note that I amended the agenda after it was posted the first time, and the minutes were on there,
Yeah,
posted a couple days ago. So hopefully you all got them.
yes. I'll move to accept the minutes.
Thank
Second,
you. Second,
yeah.
Kingston.
And I have a question. Do we have an open time for public expression at the beginning of this meeting, or do we skip over that?
No, we did.
Rebecca hit
There
it.
was
She-
no comment.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
So it was Larry and then Cole.
Kingston.
Kingston,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. You'll get it all right, Lori, but
I
6
know,
months, I know.
I'll get it sooner or later.
And do we do
He'll keep needling you.
do we do a roll
Yes.
call or?
Yeah,
a
I'll
hand-
do a roll call.
Okay.
Member Cole,
Yeah, approve.
member Chu,
Aye.
member Minikes,
Minicus, yes.
Minikis. Member Puri,
Hooray.
Hooray. Member Suggs,
Yes.
member Wara, oh, absent.
Absolutely.
Member Howard
Yes.
and member Randolph.
Yes.
Randolph, I'm sorry. Passes by unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 7, action items. Updating the code of conduct policies and procedures. You should have all seen that revised list of policies and procedures up on the agenda packet. The committee met and worked on that. Larry Chu and Max and Lucy and me. And we have made some changes, some additions to the policies and procedures. Do we want to, Mark, maybe? Since everybody has had a chance to read them, are we opening it up to Q&A before we do, and then during that, we do the discussion of things that need to be changed?
Yeah, we should go with questions of that, if anyone has any specific questions, and then that gives us the opportunity, after questions have been gone back and forth, then we can go to the public for any of their comments, and then we can get into deliberation with suggested edits.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions from the COC, Larry?
Yeah, I raised it with Lucy, and that's when she told me she wouldn't be here this evening. And we both agreed that this is really rare when this would happen. But the way we're saying is, member misses 4 assignments, member may be reassigned, or removed by a committee vote. Do we need to say by a majority? Because the vote would be it would be 8 members, because the member that we're the object of wouldn't be voting, obviously. So do we need to be very specific, or is it kind of clear that committee vote means it passes by majority? And
I can provide a response to that. It is actually already covered. You guys covered that with Article 5 of the bylaws that says removal of a member requires a supermajority. So it would be a vote of 6.
I thought we had that somewhere.
Yes.
So if it's a vote of 6, it would have to be 6 against 2, or are we talking 5-3? Because would it not be, if you're voting a member, and it's going to be rare if it ever happens.
The bylaws specifically state 6.
Okay. So it is supermajority. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So the member
And-
in that case, who would be the subject, they would get to vote as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure we have our math right.
Yep, good. Okay,
So they would vote if they're a member. All right.
yeah. So then it is 6-3.
then it
Correct.
is.
presumably, or
Mhm.
something else. It's
And so Lucy
whatever.
suggested, yeah, and Lucy suggested to bring it up to the committee this evening when I talked to her. So
Great. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Other than that, I
Any-
don't have another comment on. We've gone over it.
Okay. Thanks, Larry.
Yeah. thank
Any
you.
other questions from the COC?
I have a question, and I'm sorry I couldn't find the official raise hands. I'm just wondering, in that same area, the wording right now says, if a member misses 4 assignments.
Mhm.
And to me, assignments is a little bit vague. One could have been assigned to bring lunch, or I think the meaning is missed 4 assigned meetings that they were signed up to attend. At any rate, I think it's a little vague, and I'm wondering if we need a more precise word there.
And you're thinking either replace it with meetings or make it assigned meetings?
Something to that effect, so that at least my guess is the meaning of it is we have meetings that we're assigned to monitor, and if we miss 4 of those, where assignments sounds could be our homework. I hate to be picky, but yes, assigned meetings or something to that effect.
Why can't you say both? If a member misses 4 assignments or meetings,
So do we mean both?
Do we mean,
What's an assignment? So I understand what when we say.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking.
it's a
is an
committee
assignment.
assignment. We've got a set of them, we each have to attend.
Okay, I think if we said if misses 4 of their assigned committee meetings.
Yeah.
and is that what we mean, or do we mean meetings in general?
Yeah, that's a good question is, do we mean Mr. Bylaws Committee meeting?
Okay, so maybe we need to put that into our discussion.
Yeah,
So I'll make a circle there, that was the question, and we'll come back to that when we do
discuss.
deliberation.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions? Okay, Lori, questions from the public?
At this time, anybody from the public, would you like to speak on the policies and procedures for the COC? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Okay. So discussion time, deliberation about the Code of Conduct Policies and Procedures. Anybody have it? So we've got, Pat, your comment about assignments, and what do we mean there? Do we mean
Yeah.
assignments, meaning our assigned committees that we are responsible for attending? And or do we mean any meeting? I don't know the answer to that
Yeah,
question.
it looks like both Larry and Kingston have something to say.
And Larry, do you know which one of you had your hand up first? I wasn't watching.
Larry's fine.
Larry,
Okay, Larry.
As I recall what happened, I think the reason why there's an ambiguity in that section is because it originally started out as meetings. And then people started to think about committee assignments. So that's why you have assignments in one sentence and meetings in the other. So I think if you find some clarification on assignments being, as Pat put it, also including your homework, then the second part of that section can reflect the same language. I'm okay with it either way, but I remember in the original draft, I think it said meetings in both places.
So that may be what was meant, is meetings in general, not just assignments.
I don't think, I think it kind of evolved because there ended up being, assignments to subcommittees that people were going to be monitoring. Whereas at the very beginning, we hadn't even started discussing that. So it was just a matter of saying, well, what if a person doesn't show up to the meetings? So if you miss a third of the meetings, then
Right.
there's a possibility that you could be voted out.
Okay, Kingston, do you have a comment, question?
Yeah, I think you want to limit it to meetings. I mean, that's the problem, is a chronic absenteeism by someone.
Yes.
You get into assignments, you're getting into, I mean, first, I'm going to ask you, who's going to be policing all this?
Right. Yeah.
In charge of making sure everybody's making their assignments, and who's going to rat out somebody because they haven't done this. Now, I think it sort of politicizes something when I think you should just keep it simple. Most bylaws, say if you do miss, most organizations, if you miss a certain number of meetings, and we're talking about, regular meetings, then you're gonna bounce you. I mean, and it seems like we have a right number there. But going the other way and including all the other paraphernalia, I don't think that's a good idea.
I'll second that.
Anybody have a different thought about that? Jennifer, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what Kingston just said. Did you mean that there should be no penalty for missing assigned committee meetings at all, and that meetings?
No,
should...
just meetings. I'm saying it should only talk. It relates to meetings. The assignments, that's another problem. The person is not making assignments. We can always talk to them, reassign them something else. I'm talking about chronic absenteeism from the COC regular meetings. That's all I'm talking
Just
about.
the regular meetings. Okay.
Yeah.
If I could say something about, I'm sorry. If I could say something about assignments, for example, you have Max and Larry, and we both know you're working full time, for example. And so that puts extra pressure on you. And if you're missing it, those, because of the hours, you shouldn't necessarily be penalized for that. If you can catch up listening to or at least looking at the minutes, I mean, at least then that person is doing, and what Kingston said, it's going to be really difficult to who's going to follow up on this kind of thing. So it's sort of the honor system. We agreed to take these assignments, and we'll do our best. We may not be able to make them all, and it's understood. It's just understood. The hours are not always available to us. So,
and you're Larry, you're talking about the assignments of watching the other meetings.
Yeah, it should be the honor system. If you sign up for this, we shouldn't be dinging you if you're unable to do that because you don't have the time, or you have other meetings, or whatever it might be. We just.
So now let me see if I'm.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear other comments. I just feel like, if we say we're going to go to the executive committee or the ATC, we're going to do that. If we can't do it, well, then at least what we should do is either listen to the video, watch the video, or read the minutes, so that we're up to speed. That would be my suggestion.
So then if I'm hearing so far, what I am hearing is change the word in that item to read, if a member misses 4 meetings. And now we are talking about regularly scheduled COC meetings.
Yes.
Then not make any written penalty for missing an assigned committee meeting that we're supposed to go to and report back to. Because, as you pointed out, we could watch the video on that and catch up.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Larry Chu.
Yeah, I'm going to try and back us off a little bit of the use of regular meetings, because that becomes a technical term, and we could be calling special.
Oh,
meetings.
special meetings. Yeah.
Oh.
So I think it's just whatever we can word in a way that we're talking about meetings, but not our assignments. So meetings of the COC or something like that.
I agree. Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree as well. I would say it's the meetings of the full COC
Yeah.
that we're talking about here. I mean, if there's a subcommittee that we create to work on something, for example, the conflict of interest policy, right? We met, and I think all of us attended, but you know, if there was someone who hadn't attended that, right, we could reassign them, right? We could, you know, talk about that. We don't want to kick them off of the entire COC.
Rebecca, would it help if I screen shared an edit that I made, just listening to what you all have been saying?
Good idea. Yes.
Yeah. 4 COC meetings in a 6-month.
So, mm,
So now I can't see raised hands. Pat, go ahead.
well, my question is, if we are switching to talking about COC meetings, and that's fine, but to me, missing 4 in a 6-month period means you're missing 2/3 of the meetings. And that feels like that we should have had a conversation at half the meetings or 1/3 of the meetings. That missing more than half just seems really excessive. And I think we're picking at points that aren't going to happen. So I don't know how much time we need to spend on this, but missing 4 of the 6 regular meetings seems like an awful lot, awful high or awful low bar, I guess.
It does. Any other, I can't see hands. So any other hands up, any other comments about that?
Yeah, I have my hand up. Then in that
Okay.
case, if we're writing it like this, remember Mrs. 4 COC meetings a 6-month period, then we need to remove the next portion. The member may be reassigned. That will have to go. The member may be asked to resign or removed by a committee vote is what it should say in that case. Just
Right.
And
maybe-
just remove the member may be reassigned portion.
Actually, just may be reassigned is the only thing.
Yeah, you're not reassigned to anything. He's right.
Right.
It's has to resign or be removed. All right.
Yeah.
I have the feeling that that was already taken care of in the original bylaws.
I was trying to look them up and I don't know where my copy is,
Yeah, I didn't
Oddly.
think to get them out either, but
oddly. Yeah, I was wondering too. Where is it?
They are.
What
on
I'm
the
wondering
website.
is, knowing that there are a couple of other changes coming up, a request for changes coming up, we may not be able to vote on this tonight,
It looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
that the committee would need to meet again because we're questioning, I think, what the meaning of some of this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that sound right, Mark?
If you guys can come to an agreement and we document the changes and make the motion that it is agree, you can vote tonight. If we too complicated with the changes, it would create a difficult motion to make.
Yeah. Okay, so is there another hand up?
Oh, it's Jennifer. I didn't put my
Yeah.
hand up. I didn't think
No.
it's-
Go ahead,
Um,
Jen.
I don't know whether you're going on yet, but you use the word reassigned in the next bullet
Yeah.
point.
It doesn't make any sense.
You're gonna need to get rid of that too.
Yeah, exactly. It's just guys, maybe he has to resign. That's it. End of sentence.
Okay, we don't even touch upon it in the bylaws.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay, thank you for looking.
It's right.
Okay, so then if a member misses 4 COC meetings, I agree with you, Pat, that I think
Yes.
that's too many.
Do we want to change that
Yeah, I think we do.
to half? Is that what-
Yeah, I
Pat,
was thinking
is that
just,
what you're thinking?
At least.
So
So
that
3.
would simply be states to miss 3 meetings and I just can't imagine that any of us are going to do
Well,
that.
but you have to cover the contingency.
Yeah, no, I know,
So-
but that's what I'm,
But 3 is fine with me. I don't, it's fine.
But I have
Big-
seen instances where people just stop showing up,
Yeah.
not at different committees. So it does happen from time to time for whatever reason.
Well, but we've left latitude in the language in the sense of the verb is may be
Yeah.
asked. We may not be asked, you know, we may just
Yeah.
let it go. I mean,
Maybe yes.
somebody's got a health problem, that's fine, you know.
Right. There's so many things that could come up.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So let's do that.
Okay,
3 months, must be asked to resign from the COC, period, end of sentence.
Yeah, and by the same may be asked, you make a good point, because there may be an exclamation. There may be an unusual situation.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Anything else in those first 6?
Just a comment. So this is just totally random, but you have 3 meetings. You can't miss 3 meetings, but you can be late for 4. I don't know whether you want to be consistent.
Well, there's a good faith element to it. I mean, it'll be very apparent to everybody. So, yeah.
I would change that one to
Yeah.
6 to 3 too.
Yeah,
yeah,
To be
I'm
consistent.
not as excited about that one.
Yeah. maybe.
Yeah.
okay. Then.
Okay.
Other requests for modifications, additions, deletions.
We vote on this tonight?
We're going to try.
So,
And
so you
my
know my request.
suggestion is that my suggestion on how we can do this is that when you guys are ready to make a motion, I can read into the record the changes that were made, and then you guys can make a motion to move the change, the policy as written with the changes read into the record.
Great. Okay, Pat, you had a request.
Okay, so if whoever's screen sharing can stop, and I will share mine, and let's see if magic happens here. So here was my thought, and this is on the second half of that, the things that we've have the sentence that this applies to relationships between the COC and the board of directors. And as I was reading these, number 9 seems to imply when we are on the agenda for a meeting, whether it be operations or executive committee. And 13, 14, and 15 are that same circumstance, but those 3 in the middle, except for the one sentence that's in green, are about us speaking as members of the public at other meetings. It actually says at public government meetings. So my little logical mind would feel better if those 3, except for the part that's in green, were pulled out of the middle of this so that we had a logical progression. And what that would look like, it's really not changing wording at all, but just the order that they're in. What that would look like then is the following here, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Following here, where 9 is the same as it was, 10 is that one sentence that was in green, and then the other 3 are the ones that will below that, and then without the line separating them, but these other 3 that have to do with our behavior at other public government meetings just be put so that there's a logical progression of these things. So it's no change in wording, but just a change in order. No change in wording except for this one sentence here is pulled from the previous, but just to make it make sense, I added this little line there, if that makes sense to people. And thank you for letting me screen share, because that was very hard to explain. But you can see up here, it's just pulling the things that are in yellow out and putting them lower down. Comments, questions? Larry?
Yeah, I think that's good. Nice catch. I like it.
And I already gave feedback that I thought it was a good catch. Anybody else? I can't see hands.
You have 15 repeated twice down there, by the way, for whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we're not going to worry about formatting right at the moment, but
Yeah.
I don't think I have it repeated twice in this. So there, it becomes one longer because we've added that one sentence. Okay, so Rebecca, back to you. I will stop screen sharing.
Thank you. And I do have a change to request. Mark, if you could share and scroll down to my yellow and green. So this is an addition in that as a new number 9, shortly before a meeting at the Executive Committee, Operations Committee, Finance Committee, any other committee that gives a standing item in its agenda for the COC, all observers assigned to these committees shall meet to discuss if they have any questions to be raised at that meeting. If so, they should discuss the question and then decide which observer shall be designated to ask the question. Such designated observer will identify himself or herself, I think that should actually be themselves, to Mark Brown before the meeting. When speaking at the meeting, the designated observer will explain that the question has arisen, but that it's not a formal question of the full COC. On certain occasions, an observer will be designated to convey a communication from the COC and will introduce themselves as speaking on behalf of the full COC. So that is a process that we are adding in that says before the assigned meeting, if we're assigning 3 people as potential designated observers, those people need to decide before the meeting who's going to be the designated observer and speaker if they need to speak. That's what that section is doing. And then if we do that, we don't need in there the next one, which was if there's a COC discussion item on the committee agenda, that a designated observer or authorized member of the COC can use that period to convey pre-approved communications from the COC to the committee. We don't need that anymore because it's covered in the item above it. Or we could leave it and take that part out of number 9, either way. Questions, comments, Pat?
I think that's good because that's sort of the practice of what we are actually doing insofar as kind of knowing who's actually attending meetings in person. And I think that's a good addition.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions or
Yeah,
comments?
I do.
Yeah, Larry.
Okay, here's where I see the issue is shall meet to discuss if they have any questions. This comes back to my earlier comment. Rather than shall meet, shall communicate. So that it can be done by email.
Oh,
it's really difficult
sure.
to get 3 people in a room to find time. And if we have to do this 4 times a month,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
Nope, good catch.
Yeah. Okay.
And others, please, if you see stuff like that, no need to apologize for catching it, especially in the age of Zoom. And
Mark has his hand up.
Rebecca, if I could
Yeah.
offer, rather than having my name in there,
Yes.
we should create a document that can last beyond the tenure of an executive officer. I suggest.
Oh, we'll never get beyond you, Mark.
Tell Mrs. Brown that.
It'd be the executive officer, and I was going to make the cut. It should be the executive officer or the chair of the committee, because it isn't always Mark. I'm asking the question more than anything. Do you agree, Mark? Would that make more sense?
I would say, well, I'm not the chair of any of the committees. I
Oh, okay.
am supporting the committees.
So just go through you.
and Mark, you're the one putting the
Committee
agenda
absence of the
together, right?
executive officer.
Mark, you kind of locked up. You're locked up on us.
Yeah, I saw the internet unstable. Yes, I am typically, but it also could be Ann is setting the for advisory technical committee.
Right.
So how do we want to say that? Or do we need to?
How's that?
Good, yeah. Any other comments?
I actually have one other suggestion.
Uh-huh.
I suggest removing standing because it could be standing to me implies that it is every meeting, whereas you might be given an agenda item for one specific meeting. So I suggest removing standing.
That's very good.
Yep.
Yeah. Good catch.
And anybody else have comments or suggestions, questions?
Larry Chu raised his virtual hand.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, as the MWPA grows, different members of Mark's staff could end up being the person who organizes or is attending that meeting. Is it too simple? Maybe we can just say staff, MWPA staff. If that's what you want to do. I mean, the other way to do it would be just to notify the chair of that committee. I mean, it doesn't matter, just as long as somebody knows in advance, I would think.
Maybe the word is staff liaison to the committee.
I mean, there's a question for you too, Mark. I mean, is it an extra step that doesn't need to be, let's just say, placed on you and your staff in preparation of the meeting?
Yeah, good point.
But I don't think it is. And I'm also trying to, I'm thinking of our ops committee chair members, our advisory technical committee. They're very busy in their full-time job. I'm trying to not overload their burden as well. I like, personally, I like the liaison, staff liaison for committee or.
Okay.
How's that look?
Easy.
And what do you think about, do we want to, is removing number 10? Okay. Or do you want to make a number 10 and remove part of number 9? No thoughts about that. So then we'll leave it the way that it is there. We'll take
No, it
out,
seems like it's now overlapping, that one or the other has to be removed or rewritten.
Exactly.
If you think it should be removed and no one has a problem with it, let's do so. It just seems now it's like, why are we saying the next number 10 when we have number 9?
Exactly,
It's a redundancy. Yeah, let's do it.
exactly.
Okay.
Take out number 10 then.
Unless anyone feels otherwise.
Okay.
Brevity is the soul of wit. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, change, remove?
Well, I have a quick question. If we think we're through removing, changing, adding, I have a quick question that in real life situation, when in reading this, and I'm not sure with this added paragraph, but we've talked about you have the opportunity to give a pre-approved message that the whole COC has agreed upon, or ask questions in a questioning manner. Real life situation before the last executive committee meeting, 5 minutes before the meeting, Mark asked me if I could, because I was going to be the only assigned member of that committee, if I could update the committee on where we were with the report, with our annual reporting, which I did. But that doesn't fit either one of those circumstances. And I'm wondering, in that circumstance, should I have then said, Mark, no, I can't do that. It doesn't fit the rules.
Now, there's got to be some flexibility in this for sure.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a question to me when I read this. There are these two circumstances, and
These are guidelines, right?
Okay.
And
good. Think of them as guidelines.
I would say that may
Jennifer
be
has her hand.
that may be something we want to talk about. And do we need to stick in contingency wording? I'm not sure we need to do it tonight, but
Rebecca,
Maybe-
Jennifer does have her hand up. If you would.
Jennifer,
I'm sorry, it's not in response to what you're just asking, but could you take out the word shortly at the beginning? It's a little bit confusing. It just seems to me that before the meeting, there needs to be communication among people who will be attending the meeting to determine who will be speaking.
good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Generally, agendas come out 72 hours in advance. So I guess that's what you were thinking when you said shortly. That we can't be 2 weeks ahead usually. It's usually after the agenda.
It's interesting to listen to all this, not having any experience with it and trying to figure out exactly what
Welcome.
really do. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like, what do they really mean here? What's really important? Yeah.
Welcome, Jennifer.
So-
I do think we should be careful about calling these guidelines because we're calling them policies and
I
procedures.
know. I was looking at that again. I was
Yeah.
looking at the title again and saying, well, I think what I meant about guidelines is if a situation comes up, you don't have to say I can't do it because I don't have guidance. That's what I was kind of in Pat's particular situation. It seems perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong there, right? So I sometimes it's just common sense. Would be.
I agree.
I'm open. I'm just
Yeah.
speaking off the cuff here.
Larry, I think maybe what you're getting at here is that these are kind of the things to do in different circumstances. In the case of Pat, nothing here talks about that situation. So it's actually something outside. There's actually no guidance at all. Whereas if it fell in this, then Pat could take a look at this document and say, oh, look, here's how I'm supposed to act in
Yeah.
this situation.
Yeah.
Anybody else have comments, questions, suggestions? Do we think we're done? Mark, do we need to go back out to the public again, or are we good?
No, you don't. Go to the public.
Okay.
First.
So with those changes, are we ready to vote?
I make a motion, we do.
Okay. A second?
I'll second since I don't. Wait, Larry, do you have your hand up before we move? You're on mute, Larry.
sorry. I was going to suggest we modify the motion to as amended.
As
So-
amended, correct,
As amended.
in our discussion, yeah.
Yep.
And perhaps we could stop screen sharing so we can see all our smiling faces as we do.
So
that.
Larry, would that be a second on your part? Or would that be an amendment and then now someone has to second?
I can second it. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So as amended, we have a motion and a second. And Lori, would you call the roll?
Member Cole,
Yes,
member Chu,
Aye.
member Minikes,
Aye.
member Purray. Purray,
Yes.
member Suggs,
Yes?
thank you. Member Wara, Michael,
Absent?
you're on mute.
absent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Member Howard,
Yes.
member Randall.
Here, or yes. I forget what we're doing.
Yes,
It
and here.
passes by unanimous vote of those present. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
then
Lori.
if I may ask, how you would like to get, I made some changes on the working document on my computer. Pat made some changes, a working document on her computer. I suggest that Pat send me her document. I can put her changes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the mother document. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Mark. Okay. No other action items. And we're moving on to committee reports. These are the monitoring assignments for the committee meetings for the MWPA. And I think we had some meetings last month, did we not?
We did.
I think so. And we probably didn't make assignments on who was going to do what. So Pat,
Well, I have a question. Looking at the, I mean, I've been going to almost all the meetings, and yes, there were meetings since we have last met. But in looking at the list of assignments, we have just said in our new policies and procedures that there will be 3 people assigned to each.
yes,
And in point of fact, there's only one, the ops committee is the only committee that I can see that 4 people are assigned to. There are a couple of them with 2 and some with just 1. And I feel like I'm often the only person at meeting who reports back on meetings they've been to. And most of the time it's, I don't have anything special to say about the meetings this month, but I'm just wondering when we should look at those assignments. If everyone is, if there are 3 people assigned to each one, then that means most of us should have 2 assignments, and some of us have none at this point.
Mark, is that something we can do in this meeting, or do we need to make that an action item for next month?
I'm thinking right here. It was just a self-volunteer when we originally set that up, and I believe
Yeah.
we can continue that path.
So we could just do it now?
I believe so, and I also believe it could be email. I think this is it's not a policy type decision. And it could be done remotely, or it could be done in a meeting.
Okay.
We've got 2 new members, okay?
Right, right.
Yeah, and one of them's
So-
absent. Okay, so I'm saying, in terms of volunteering, what are we gonna do with Michael? All right,
Why don't we wait? Why don't we put it
Yeah,
off till next?
right,
month?
yeah, I just, okay.
What I'll
Or-
do is, Mark, what I'll do is, I think we should make it an assignment for next month. I'm a little concerned about this month, though. Because we do have it's a busy time for both ATC and operations, so they're both going to be meeting. Now, I will say, Pat, that I'm assigned to both of those. So,
Well, and I plan to be at the ATC meeting
Yeah.
tomorrow, even though that's not my, oh yeah,
I-
that is. my
that is your
ATC
assignment,
my
yeah.
assignment.
Jennifer has her hand raised, by the way.
Jennifer, oh, yes.
I have 2 things I wanted to say. One, when you decide how to assign people, I wonder whether it would be beneficial to rotate after a certain number of months so that with different eyes and ears in different places on a regular basis. And I had asked to be on the ops committee assignment, but I don't know whether that happened. And I know there are a lot of us there, so I'm willing to be assigned elsewhere as well. That's all.
So
If
I
I
do
might-
think, it will be- go ahead, Larry.
Sorry, it came in.
Oh,
We both
Matt.
came in at the same time. I was going to suggest, Rebecca, maybe the thing that would work the best would be that we do put this on the next agenda, and that Mark send out the current assignments to everyone, as well as maybe a little note reminding folks, since Michael's not here today, that anyone can attend any of them, right, at any point, and that there's a couple coming up this next month that might be worth taking a look at, even if you're not assigned to it, right? And then at the next meeting, we can all come with our top preferences, and we can change it up. I think it was about a year ago almost that we made these initial assignments, because we started meeting in December 2020, and it took us a couple of months to get to the point where we were doing these assignments. So I think it was about a year ago. So I think it's actually perfect timing to take another look and change up the assignments. Also, people's schedules change, right? So I know for me, I initially signed up for the ops. I haven't been able to attend the last couple of meetings due to my schedule. So I'm gonna pick a different one this time, one that I can actually attend. So I think it's a great idea to do this at the next meeting.
And I've had my hand up. And
Larry, go.
just a correction for Pat is, and Mark mentioned this last time, is that when I was chair, I just assumed all 5 board meetings. But I'm not attending finance. And to Jennifer's comment, some of us are really strong in finance, like Larry and Kingston. So it makes sense for them to have those assignments. Some of us have more interest in operations or the ATC end, or maybe just the executive committee end. So I don't know that we necessarily need to shift around as much as just attend what we want to attend would be my feeling. But I am routinely at 4 or 5 of these committees, so I'm always there, or try to be. Thank you.
And Larry Chu.
Kingston had his hand up
Oh,
first.
sorry, Kingston.
Thank you, Larry. Sharp eye, sharp eye. Yeah, I'm a taxpayer representative, right? So I've got to be on the finance committee, at least
Yeah.
in my opinion. Although I'm not the expert anywhere close as Larry. The other way to do this would be to maybe have a subcommittee of 2 people, one to call, 3 others, the other one to call 4 others, to just sort of poll everybody and pull everything together, and then at the next meeting lay it all out, and then people can adjust from there. But I'm going or I'm listening to videos of almost every one of these meetings. They're fascinating that we're dealing with. But if we're going to pick our meetings and adjust our schedules, I don't feel like spending an hour and a half in our next meeting doing it. So maybe if we could have an ad hoc committee to two people to check with the other members of the committees is to find out what their preferences are and send it out in advance. I'd be happy with that.
Larry Chu, other thoughts?
Yeah, earlier we were talking about, the example was myself where I work during the day. The way that our structure is set up is as long as the MWPA continues to video record or audio record meetings, you don't need to do it live unless you're going to speak. There were several times I did have to speak and I set that time aside, but invariably I'll attend the meetings the way that Kingston does. You just watch the video after.
Right.
So we're both on finance. I can't even remember the last time they met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give it away. Then everybody want to be on finance. Don't do that.
Okay, so do we want to have a committee set all of this up and be ready to just have assignments read out next meeting?
Just ask
Or do
everybody
we-
what their preferences are.
Right.
Just ask everybody. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest rather than a committee, we all just email Mark our preference. And I know these are voluntary, but just to make sure we're adhering to, the Brown Act here, Mark could come back and come with a list and present it at the next meeting or include it in the board packet and we can take a look.
He's looking a little tired. I don't know if that's going to work.
Mark, is that
Yeah, I'm totally.
is
good
that
with
okay for you?
I think I can handle that one.
Okay, then.
I think
And as
I
far as
appreciate
sending everything
your
out anyway,
concern.
it's just we respond.
Okay.
So do we have, let's see, we have
That's fine.
Michael and Lucy not here. Do we need to send out an email, Mark, asking everybody to do that so you get it all back in an orderly fashion? Or do we just need to tell everybody, do it, send it to you right now, and I can email Larry, Lucy, and Michael and tell them to do it?
I'm happy to send an email to the group. I'll
Okay.
BCC you all so we don't get into a reply all.
Yeah, good.
A question. Should each person, each member would be required to sign up for 2 committees minimum?
In order,
Yes,
I did the math that works out that there are 5 committees that we're supposed to be covering. So if
Okay.
3 people are covering each one, that's 15. 2 times 9 is 18. So there are actually 3 people who could have just one assignment. But in order to get the number, let's just say that everybody should volunteer for 2. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll even it out in the next meeting.
so then, Mark, you'd need to put yourself on the agenda for next month as I guess that's an action item. Is that true?
That's
To,
my decision, yeah.
Yeah, we
yeah,
can make an action item and just because I'm compiling the information, it doesn't mean I have to present it. It could be, I think it'd be just. I
Oh, okay,
provide
so-
the
so-
Talk to-
spreadsheet and the chair can facilitate the conversation.
great, thank you. Okay,
And I'll make sure the phone numbers are not on the spreadsheet when we post it publicly.
good idea.
Thank you. Small
Okay.
favors.
What started all of this is the monitoring assignments. So we did have operations and ATC, didn't we? And I think we also had finance,
and we had an executive committee.
and we had executive committee and board.
And a board.
So does anybody have any,
It was in December.
say again?
Finance was in December.
Oh, okay. So we have executive committee, board, operations, and ATC.
Executive.
Does anybody have anything that they would like to report out on from any of those meetings?
I could.
Okay,
I
Larry.
can make it really brief because it stands out as a major action item this month, I guess, which is at the board meeting, 3 new hires are coming: a vegetation management specialist, a senior wildfire mitigation specialist, and a wildfire mitigation specialist. And that's a big deal. We're doubling the staff, Mark,
Well, if I can make a small correction, Larry,
please.
we are not, we approved the position descriptions for the senior WIMS and the WIMS, but we are not looking to recruit for those positions because there is no need for them. I just wanted the position description to be inventory in case someone wants us to have those positions.
My error. Thank you.
But we are recruiting for a management analyst right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a comment from the directors meeting. And that was that there was a letter sent by Fern
Yeah.
to, and it was discussed in closed session, but it's something I think everyone should read the letter. I'm not making any judgment calls on this, but behooves everyone's to pay some attention to the fact that the letter itself, read it through it and form your own opinions. And I'll let it go at that.
Thank you.
And Rebecca, Larry Chu has his hand up.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Larry.
Yeah, I believe Mark already reported out on the finance committee for December meeting at our last meeting in January. But in effect, there was a purchasing policy that was approved and also a reserve of, what was it, Mark, $3 million or something like that.
3 million, yeah.
Yeah, and that was going to be used for, working capital primarily. So we didn't get any recommendations submitted at the last meeting regarding, our finance subcommittee's report for the annual report. But one of the things that we did ask will be to have the finance committee, well, actually the board, go back to the finance committee, approve any outstanding financial or fiduciary policies that haven't been approved since they were introduced actually the year before, and just to get those on the agenda and wrapped up.
Mhm.
So, and Pat,
As long as we are now doing a little bit of reporting out on this, I was struck, as Mark has already alluded to at the ATC committee meeting, how the Brown Act, which is intended to make things more transparent, with this development of the new work plan, actually sort of makes things less transparent, because if you have this a totally open process, then you are constantly in violation of the Brown Act. So that was interesting to me. It's also interesting to have the non-voting members at the ATC meeting. That's it gives a different dimension to those meetings.
I'd have to say that portal is just a fabulous idea. I mean, I really,
Yeah,
as I follow it, I understand there's a Brown Act problem, but I mean, the concept of it and what you're doing with it,
Mhm.
I was incredibly impressed with. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Very
yeah,
much. So.
I'm incredibly impressed with it too, and it's
And it's going to grow.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it will make all the information available to all of us quicker, probably in the long run. But it is just frustrating that it makes it where you can't see it now.
I do think it will make the COC job much easier once we are able to take a look at it.
Very much so.
Yeah. I'm just reviewing notes from ATC, and I don't see anything else that we need to bring up.
It stands out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's meeting should be good.
Yeah.
About the Ross Valley fuel break, which is big.
Okay, anything else on committee reports? And we need to go to the public on that one.
Yes, we do.
Lori, could you check?
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on committee reports? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, thank you.
Thanks.
Is anybody out there?
Yes,
Yeah, there's
Maria
still-
and Sophia are still there.
Okay. Yeah, just checking.
Kingston, you can always check on the, Kingston. you
Oh,
can
that's
always-
right. You can check participants, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it. Dumb question.
okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have any information items,
Information items,
things that you would like to share?
just tomorrow.
Hot
18.
topics, anything out there? Okay.
Max raised his hand.
Oh, sorry, Max.
Yeah, I can share. I shared with the subcommittee I'm on and with Mark as well, but I'm running for the Mill Valley City Council in the June election. And if elected, I will have to step down from the COC since the city of Mill Valley is a member of the MWPA, but we'll still be actively monitoring if that happens. And of course, you know, it's up to the voters to determine whether this happens. So,
Right. good.
Wow.
And
but
Max, I
wanted to
I
share.
hope we can kick you out of here, Max. Good luck.
Thanks, Larry.
So Max, you want to give us your 30-second elevator
I-
pitch?
No,
I
no,
don't know if
he
that's
no,
appropriate for
It
this
wouldn't be
meeting, but
appropriate.
I'd be happy to separately, Kingston.
The
I'll call you right away. That's what I mean.
MWPA is a non-political
Yeah.
authority. We cannot cross that line. Sorry, Max.
Actually, I do have something, information.
Yes,
I'm not
right.
sure, is that we have this biomass collaborative that's been working on a project, and we just got a grant for $500,000 from the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. It's one of 5 grants throughout the state. Marin is the only one to get a single grant. All the others are multiple counties that got grants. And it's really exciting. The Marin Resource Conservation District will be the, what's the word I'm looking for? We'll handle the grant for us. We'll manage the grant for us. We need a JPA for this, of course, and they'll handle all the work behind it. I just cannot say more wonderful things about all that's happening on that and this stuff, and it will be a 2-year study. So we have a long way to go yet. The work is just beginning. That's my report.
Yay, exciting.
Well, I have one informational thing. I spent a lot of time working on Measure A, which is coming up with Parks and Open Space, and with a number of people, and Mark Brown and everybody at the MWPA, we got some very specific language in there and money into the Measure A language, speaking to fire prevention and putting boots on the ground and all sorts of specific things. I asked you to, when you get a chance to look at the Measure A language, it's up on their website on Parks and Open Space. But my thanks to Mark Brown and others for really working hard on this. All of us did it together. It's a much better document. And it's much more focused on wildfire prevention than it ever has been in the past. Okay. Plus coordinating, as we'll see tomorrow, the Parks and Open Space is supposed to come in, I think, to make a presentation. So that's another reason to watch the meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm finished.
And
Thank
Larry
you.
Chu has his virtual hand up.
And then Pat, Larry.
You know, going back to Max's thing, if he is on the campaign trail, you know, this is where I'm not going to say we're testing our policies, but, you know, as a candidate for city council, he's going to be asked questions about the MWPA. You can pretty much expect it because fire mitigation is a major issue here in Marin. So he's going to be asked questions like, so do you think what do you think the MWPA should be focusing on? Or do you think that their current policies are, you know, in alignment with, and, you know, they might place some context in that. And he's going to be obligated, he does have an obligation to the voters to be able to express his opinions and positions. So, you know, I don't, it's one of those things where
Yeah,
he gets a little bit of latitude here in retrospect to the policies that we just, approved.
Sure. Right. As long as he puts a disclaimer on it, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's speaking as a candidate and not a member of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
COC.
I think in fact, our policies help him figure out how to say that. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. Pat,
This is just, didn't occur to me until Kingston was talking, but follow up on the Measure A, that the Marin Coalition is going to have a presentation on Measure A at their April meeting, I want to say April 9th. And Max Corton is definitely going to be there, and probably a couple of other panelists yet to be named.
Wow.
Stay tuned
Okay.
for information about that.
Great, thanks.
and just a reiteration that we will have ATC is meeting this week. Operations is probably meeting in a couple of weeks. It's meeting sometime this month as well.
It just met, didn't
Yes, did they? Yes, yes,
Yeah.
they did. But I think they're meeting again. It's not on the agenda yet.
executive committee is March 3rd. That's the next one after the TAC, at least on the agenda right now.
Yeah. So just keep an eye out, I guess is the deal. Keep an eye out on what's up on the calendar. Okay.
Well, everyone should be signed. We should all be signed up to get notifications. They come out regularly for every meeting.
Yeah, we do.
So,
Yes.
yeah, something we should mention.
Thank
I'd be
you,
lost without them. Yeah.
So
Okay,
Jennifer, how we're
any
still
other,
getting our feet on the ground here.
any other information items? Okay, we don't go to the public on that one, right?
We don't need to.
Okay. Committee members, requests for future agenda items.
And I did capture the committee assignments agenda item.
Thank you. Any other requests for agenda items? Okay. Then I think we're ready to adjourn.
That's right. You don't even need a motion.
Okay.
Just a,
and we
So,
thank Maria for sticking in all the way.
And
whoa,
Sophia
yes,
just
thank you.
went a
Yeah,
couple
Sophia.
seconds ago, so she
Both of them. Thank
stuck
you,
with
guys.
us too.
Thank you,
All right.
public. We appreciate it.
all
And
right.
well done,
Take care, everybody.
Rebecca,
All right.
chairing your first.
Good
meeting.
evening, all.
See you next
Thank you,
month.
Max.
Yeah, nice work, Rebecca. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Meeting
Thanks.
adjourned.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you soon.
I always have
Tomorrow
a
morning,
hard
10.
time finding the leave.
Ciao.